The day the aliens came was like any other day at first. The sky was blue, people went to work, and children played in parks. No one knew that by sunset, everything would change. General Catherine Moore, known as Kate to her friends, sat in her office at the United States Space Command. At 52 years old, she had spent her life serving her country. Her short gray hair framed a face marked by years of tough decisions. Today, she studied reports about strange signals coming from beyond Mars. "General Moore, you need to see this," said her aide, rushing into the room without knocking. Kate looked up, annoyed at first, until she saw the panic in the young man's eyes. "What is it, Lieutenant?" "Turn on the news, ma'am, any channel." Kate pressed a button on her desk, and the large screen on her wall came to life. The image made her stand up suddenly. A massive dark ship hung in the sky above New York City. It was bigger than any building humans had ever made. "They're over every major city, ma'am," the lieutenant said. "London, Beijing, Moscow, Cairo, everywhere." Kate grabbed her phone. "Get me the president." Within hours, Kate found herself in the White House Situation Room with the highest officials in the government. Screens around them showed the alien ships holding position above 37 cities worldwide. "They've sent a message," the Secretary of Defense said. "They want to meet with Earth's leaders." The president looked at Kate. "General Moore, you've worked on our first contact protocols. What do we do?" Kate took a deep breath. "We meet them, but carefully. We show strength without aggression." 3 days later, Kate led a small team to meet the aliens. With her were Frank Howard, America's top diplomat, and Dr. Susan Miller, an expert in biology who might understand the aliens' physical needs. They flew in a special plane to a meeting point in neutral airspace over the Atlantic Ocean. The alien ship sent down a smaller craft to pick them up. It was sleek and silver with no visible windows or doors. Yet when it landed, a section of the wall simply disappeared, showing a bright space inside. "Remember," Kate told her team as they walked toward the craft, "we represent all of Earth. Now." The inside of the alien ship was strange. The air felt thick but easy to breathe. The walls gave off a soft light that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere. After a short flight, they docked with the main ship. An alien greeted them. It stood on 2 legs like a human but was much taller, almost 8 feet. Its skin was covered in small, shiny scales that changed color slightly as it moved. It had 4 arms and a face with large black eyes that didn't blink. "Welcome," it said, its voice coming from a small device at its throat. "I will take you to Emperor Zexithalor." They walked through long hallways where other aliens stopped to stare at them. Some looked scared, others curious. Kate noticed that all of them bowed when their guide passed. The throne room was enormous. The ceiling rose at least 50 feet high, and strange glowing symbols covered the walls. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat the Emperor. Zexithalor was even larger than the other aliens. His scales were a deep purple with gold edges. He wore a complex metal outfit that seemed to move slightly on its own. When he spoke, his voice boomed through the room. "So these are the humans," he said, looking down at them. "Smaller than I expected." Frank Howard stepped forward. "We come in peace, representing the people of Earth. We hope to establish friendly relations between our worlds." The Emperor made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Peace? Relations? You misunderstand your situation. We are the Zularian Empire. We have conquered over 300 worlds. You are now part of our empire." Kate felt her body tense. "Earth is not yours to take. We are a sovereign planet." The Emperor rose from his throne, towering over them. "Your weapons are primitive. Your ships can barely leave your atmosphere. You have nothing we want except your planet's resources. We're willing to trade," Frank began. "Trade?" the Emperor interrupted. "One does not trade with ants. One takes what one needs." Dr. Miller whispered to Kate. "Their body language suggests they're not bluffing. They've done this before." The Emperor approached them, his many eyes studying each human carefully. "You have 3 of your solar days to prepare your leaders for surrender. We will take what we need with or without your cooperation, but cooperation will mean fewer human casualties." Kate tried again. Surely we can discuss terms that benefit both. There is nothing to discuss, the Emperor said. You will submit, as all inferior species do. As they were being led out, the Emperor reached out suddenly and grabbed Kate's arm with one of his lower hands. The touch of his scaled skin felt cold and rough. This one has spirit, he said to his guards. The females of this species seem particularly suited for service roles. Perhaps they can be useful in ways the others were not. The translator device made the meaning clear, and Kate saw red. Without thinking, acting on pure instinct built from decades of not letting anyone push her around, Kate did something no human had ever done before. She slapped the Emperor of the Zularian Empire across his scaled face. The sound echoed through the massive room. Everyone froze. The guards raised their weapons. Dr. Miller gasped. Frank looked like he might faint. Kate stood her ground, her hand still raised, ready for whatever came next. The Emperor's scales flashed from purple to a bright red, then back again. He touched his face where she had struck him. His multiple eyes widened, and he took 3 steps backward. You struck me, he said, his voice now soft with what sounded like confusion. Touch me again or threaten my planet again, and you'll get worse than that, Kate said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. The Emperor stared at her for what felt like minutes. Then he did something truly unexpected. He raised his hand, and the guards lowered their weapons. Interesting, he said, very interesting. Kate and her team were quickly escorted back to the small craft that would return them to Earth. As they left, Kate caught a glimpse of the Emperor in deep conversation with his advisors, all of them looking back at her with expressions she couldn't read. He's back on Earth. Kate's team was met by worried officials who had been watching the meeting through a special camera hidden in Frank's glasses. What were you thinking? The Secretary of Defense demanded. You may have just started an interstellar war. Kate didn't answer right away. She was watching the sky, waiting for the alien ships to begin their attack. But hour after hour passed, and nothing happened. Then, just as the sun was setting, all the alien ships across the world moved in unison. Everyone held their breath, expecting the worst. Instead, the ships simply repositioned themselves, moving higher into orbit, further from Earth's cities. And then a new message came through on all channels. The Emperor requests another meeting with General Catherine Moore of Earth. Alone. The room fell silent as everyone looked at Kate. The message from the alien ship played again on the speakers. The Emperor wanted to meet with her alone. It's a trap, said the Secretary of Defense. They want to kill you for what you did. Kate wasn't so sure. Something about the Emperor's reaction had been odd. He hadn't been angry. He had been surprised. I think I should go, she said finally. The President shook his head. Too dangerous. We can't risk losing you. With all due respect, sir, Kate said, we might not get another chance. If they wanted to kill us, they could have done it already. Their ships are still up there, and they haven't attacked. I think something important is happening. After hours of debate, the decision was made. Kate would go, but with conditions. She would wear a small camera and tracking device. A rescue team would be ready if things went wrong. The next morning, Kate stepped onto the alien shuttle alone. She wore her formal military uniform with all her medals. If this was to be her last day, she would face it with dignity. The trip to the main ship was quiet. No alien guide spoke to her this time. When she arrived, she was surprised to see that the throne room had changed. The cold metal walls now had colorful Earth scenes projected on them. There were mountains, oceans, and cities. There was even a small table with chairs that looked like they were made for humans. The Emperor entered, but not from his throne platform. He walked in through a side door, with fewer guards than before. He seemed different somehow, less intimidating despite his size. General Moore, he said through his translator. Thank you for coming. Kate nodded but said nothing. Please sit, the Emperor said, pointing to the human-sized chairs. He folded his large body onto a larger seat across from her. Why am I here? Kate asked directly. The Emperor's scales shifted to a blue color. You did something no being has done to a Zularian Emperor in over 3,000 years. You struck me. You grabbed me and insulted my people, Kate said. Yes. The Emperor's voice was softer now. That was incorrect of me. Kate blinked in surprise. Was this an apology? In our culture, the Emperor continued, physical challenge is reserved for equals. No subject may touch the Emperor. No conquered species has ever dared to strike a Zularian of any rank, let alone the Emperor himself. Kate began to understand. So when I slapped you, you acted as an equal, the Emperor finished. It has caused quite a stir among my people. Kate sat back in her chair, thinking. Is that why you wanted to meet? To tell me about your culture? The Emperor's scales shifted again, this time to a green-gold color. I wanted to understand. Your species is physically weaker than ours. Your technology is primitive compared to ours, yet you showed no fear. Why? Kate thought about how to answer. Humans have a saying. The size of the dog in the fight matters less than the size of the fight in the dog. The translator was silent for a moment. Then the Emperor made a strange rumbling sound. He was laughing. Yes, I begin to see. Your species has spirit. You fight even when victory seems impossible. We've fought each other for most of our history, Kate explained. We're finally learning to live together peacefully, but that fighting spirit is still part of who we are. The Emperor leaned forward. Tell me more about humans. For the next 2 hours, Kate explained human history, culture, and beliefs. She told the Emperor about wars and peace treaties, about art and music, about how humans had nearly destroyed themselves several times but always found a way to survive. The Emperor listened, asking questions that showed real interest. As they talked, more Zularians entered the room quietly, listening from a distance. I must tell you something, the Emperor finally said. My advisors are divided. Some believe we should destroy your planet immediately to prevent other conquered worlds from following your example. Others are curious about your species and believe we might learn from you. Kate felt a chill run down her spine. And what do you believe? I have not decided, the Emperor admitted. But I am intrigued. For millennia we have conquered through fear. Species submit to us because they believe resistance is futile. You have shown that there is another way to interact. Kate saw an opportunity. Then let me show you more. Come to Earth. Meet our leaders. See how we live. The Emperor's scales flashed bright yellow. You would invite me to your planet? After I threatened to conquer it. Yes, Kate said firmly. That's how humans do things. We talk. We try to understand each other. Sometimes we fight, but we always look for a better way. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. I will consider it. As Kate prepared to leave, the Emperor had one more question. If I had not grabbed you, would you have struck me? Kate smiled slightly. No. I only acted because you touched me without permission. Humans value their personal space. Fascinating, the Emperor said. So simple contact can be seen as aggression? Context matters, Kate explained. A handshake is welcome, a grab is not. The Emperor extended one of his 4 hands. Is this a handshake? Kate hesitated, then reached out and took his scaled hand. It is now. Back on Earth, Kate's return was met with relief and questions. She spent hours debriefing military and government officials about everything she had learned. They're not as united as they seem, she explained. The Emperor has advisors with different opinions. Some want war, others want to learn from us. Can we trust anything they say? The Secretary of State asked. I think so, Kate replied. Their culture values strength and direct confrontation. They don't seem to understand deception the way we do. The president looked troubled. But they've conquered hundreds of worlds. They must be masters of strategy. I don't think they needed strategy before, Kate said. They're so advanced technologically that they simply overwhelm other species. We might be the first to surprise them in a long time. 3 days later, a message came from the Zularian fleet. The Emperor had made his decision. He would come to Earth with a small delegation to meet Earth's leaders at the United Nations. The news caused worldwide panic and excitement. Some people fled cities, fearing an alien invasion. Others camped out near the UN building, hoping to catch a glimpse of the aliens. Security was tighter than for any event in history. Soldiers from 20 nations surrounded the UN building. Fighter jets patrolled the skies. Everyone held their breath as the small Zularian ship descended toward the landing pad. Kate stood with the welcoming committee, her heart racing. Had she made a terrible mistake inviting the Emperor to Earth? Had her single act of defiance doomed humanity? The ship landed softly. A door opened in its smooth side. The Emperor ducked his head as he stepped out, his tall form immediately drawing gasps from the crowd. He wore simpler clothing than before, though still made of the strange, shifting metal. Behind him came 3 other Zularians, each carrying what looked like data devices. The Emperor's eyes found Kate immediately. He raised, one hand in greeting, clearly mimicking the human gesture he had seen her use. "General Moore," he said through his translator. "I have come to learn." Kate stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth, Emperor Zexthaler. We're ready to teach." As cameras flashed and people watched in homes around the world, the Emperor of the Zularian Empire took his first steps on human soil. And with those steps, everything began to change. The meeting at the United Nations was unlike any in human history. Leaders from every nation sat in tense silence as Emperor Zexthaler addressed them. His massive form made the human podium look like a child's toy. For 3,000 years, the Zularian Empire has expanded across the stars. The Emperor began, his translator device making his words clear to all. "We have encountered many species, but none like yours." Kate sat in the front row, watching carefully. Next to her, Dr. Susan Miller took notes on Zularian behavior. Frank Howard whispered translations of some words the translator missed. "General, Moore has shown me that humans possess something rare," the Emperor continued. "You face threats directly. You do not cower. This is worthy of respect." A murmur ran through the crowd. Respect was not what they had expected from a conquering alien force. "Therefore, I propose something new. Not conquest, but exchange. Knowledge, culture, technology. We will learn from each other." The leaders of Earth looked at each other in confusion and hope. Was this real? Was the threat of alien invasion over because one woman had slapped an emperor? After the speech, world leaders gathered in a private meeting room. The Emperor waited in a separate area with his advisors. Kate was called in to give her opinion. "Do you believe him?" the President asked her directly. Kate thought for a moment. "I do. I think their society values direct confrontation. My slap wasn't just a surprise, it changed how they see us. They respect strength. But can we trust them?" asked the Prime Minister of Japan. "This could be a trick to lower our guard." "We should trust but verify," Kate said. "Accept the offer of exchange, but keep our defenses ready." After hours of debate, Earth's leaders agreed to a trial period of cultural exchange. Small delegations would visit each other's worlds. Knowledge would be shared carefully. Trust would be built slowly. The next morning, Kate was called to a private meeting with the Emperor. She found him studying a globe of the Earth, his long fingers gently turning it. "Your world has so much water," he commented. "Ours has much less." "Is that why you conquer other planets?" Kate asked. "For resources?" The Emperor's scales shifted to a thoughtful blue. "It began that way, long ago. Now, it is simply what we do. It is expected." Kate moved closer to the globe. "Expected by whom?" "By everyone. By the conquered worlds. By my people. By the ancient traditions." The Emperor turned to face her. "Until now. Until you." "I didn't intend to change your empire with one slap," Kate said. "Yet you have." The Emperor's voice grew softer. "There are reports from our conquered worlds. Word has spread of what happened. Some are calling it the slap of freedom." Kate couldn't help but smile at that. Sounds dramatic. It is dramatic to them. For 3,000 years, species have submitted to us without question. Now they whisper of the humans who dared to challenge an emperor. This was news to Kate. Are you saying there are problems in your empire because of what I did? There are questions that have not been asked in generations. The emperor's scales rippled with colors Kate hadn't seen before. Some of my advisors blame you for this. They want your world destroyed as an example. Kate tensed. And what do you want? I want to understand. My empire has grown stagnant. We conquer because we always have, not because we must. Perhaps there is another way. Before Kate could respond, an alarm sounded. The Emperor's communication device flashed with symbols. His scales darkened as he read them. What's wrong? Kate asked. Trouble, he replied simply. One of our subject worlds, the Kral, has refused their resource quota. They cite your example. They say if humans can stand up to us, so can they. Kate saw the worry in the Emperor's stance. What will you do? Tradition demands they be punished. A warship should be sent immediately. But, Kate prompted, but I find myself questioning tradition, the Emperor admitted. What would humans do in this situation? Kate thought carefully before answering. We would try to understand why they're refusing. We would negotiate. Force would be the last option, not the first. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then, he made a decision. I will speak with them. Not threaten, but speak. Will you help me? Kate was surprised by the request. Me? How? You understand defiance. You understand standing against greater power. Help me understand the Kral's position. And so Kate found herself advising an alien emperor on diplomacy. Together they drafted a message to the Kral, asking for talks instead of demanding obedience. It was unprecedented in Zularian history. Meanwhile, back at the Pentagon, analysts were piecing together information about the Zularian Empire. Ethan Daniels, a young intelligence officer, made a discovery that changed everything. The Empire isn't as unified as they want us to believe, he explained to his superiors. Based on the signals we've intercepted, there's significant unrest on at least 6 of their subject worlds. General Harris, Kate's second-in-command, studied the data. All starting after General Moore's encounter with the Emperor? Yes, sir, Ethan confirmed. They're calling it the slap of freedom across the galaxy. It's become a symbol of resistance. General Harris looked troubled. This puts Earth in a dangerous position. If their empire falls apart, they might blame us. Or, Ethan suggested, they might need us more than ever. When Kate learned of this information, she realized the stakes were even higher than she had thought. The Emperor wasn't just questioning tradition. He was facing a potential rebellion across his empire. And somehow, she had become central to it all. The next meeting between Kate and the Emperor was tense. His scales were dark, his movements stiff. The Kral have refused to meet, he said without greeting. They demand independence. 2 other worlds have joined their call. My council is divided. Many blame me for showing weakness by coming to Earth. Kate saw the weight on him. Despite being an alien conqueror, she recognized the burden of leadership. What options are you considering? The traditional response would be swift punishment. Destroy the Kral's main city as a warning to others. Kate felt sick at the thought. And the alternative? There is no alternative in our history, the Emperor said. This has never happened before. Then make a new history, Kate suggested. Be the Emperor who found a better way. The Emperor's scales flashed with rapid colors. You do not understand. My position is at risk. There are those who would replace me if I appear weak. On Earth, the strongest leaders are often those who find peaceful solutions to difficult problems, Kate said. True strength isn't about destruction. It's about creation. For hours, they discussed options. Kate explained human concepts of diplomacy, compromise, and mutual benefit. The Emperor struggled with ideas that went against thousands of years of Zularian tradition. As their meeting ended, the Emperor made a request that shocked Kate. I want to address your world leaders again, he said. But this time I want to broadcast the meeting across my empire. Let all worlds conquered and conquering see how humans and Zularians can speak as equals. Kate immediately saw both the opportunity and the danger. That's a bold move. It could change everything. Yes, the Emperor agreed. It could end my rule. It could end my life if the traditionalists revolt. But after meeting humans, I cannot continue as before. The broadcast was arranged for the following day. Earth's media called it the most important event in human history. The Emperor's advisors called it the most dangerous decision any emperor had ever made. As Kate prepared to join the world leaders for the broadcast, Dr. Miller pulled her aside with urgent news. We've been analyzing Zularian communication patterns, she said breathlessly. Their empire is on the brink of civil war. The Emperor is risking everything on this broadcast. Kate nodded. I know. But there's more, Dr. Miller continued. Based on their cultural signals, we think the Emperor is doing this specifically because of you. In their culture, a physical challenge like your slap requires a response of equal significance. What are you saying? Kate asked. I'm saying he's not just changing his approach to Earth, he's changing his entire empire. Because you showed him another way was possible. With this knowledge weighing on her, Kate took her place for the broadcast. Cameras from Earth and communication devices from the Zularian ships focused on the stage where Earth's leaders and the Emperor would speak to two civilizations at once. The Emperor stood tall, his scales a calm blue as he prepared to change 3,000 years of history with a single speech, and it had all begun with a slap. The broadcast began with a strange silence. On Earth, billions of humans watched their screens. Across the stars, countless beings on hundreds of worlds tuned in to see their Emperor address the newly discovered humans. Emperor Zex Thalor stood before the combined leaders of Earth. His tall form towered over the humans, but his posture was different now. Less imposing, more thoughtful. People of Earth and citizens of the Zularian Empire, he began, his translator converting his words to Earth languages while his natural voice carried to his own people. Today marks a turning point in our shared history. Kate sat among Earth's leaders, watching the Emperor carefully. She knew this speech could change the fate of both civilizations. For 3,000 years, the Zularian Empire has expanded through conquest alone, the Emperor continued. We believed this was the natural order. The strong rule, the weak submit. But Earth has shown us another possibility. The Emperor's scales shifted to a bright blue as he spoke. Kate had learned this indicated sincerity among Zularians. When General Catherine Moore of Earth struck me, she did not act out of weakness or fear. She acted from strength and principle. This simple act has forced me to question 3,000 years of Zularian tradition. Murmurs spread through the human audience. On screens showing feeds from Zularian worlds, similar reactions could be seen among various alien species. I now believe we have been wrong, the Emperor said, his words causing visible shock among his advisors. Strength is not measured only by conquest. True strength may lie in cooperation, in finding ways to grow together, rather than at each other's expense. One of the Emperor's advisors stepped forward, speaking urgently into his ear. The Emperor silenced him with a gesture. Some of my people disagree, he acknowledged. They see change as weakness. But I ask you, is it weak to admit a mistake? Is it weak to seek a better path? As he spoke, urgent messages appeared on screens, held by Zularian officials. The Emperor glanced at them but continued his speech. Today, I announce a new policy for the Zularian Empire. We will no longer expand through conquest. We will offer all our subject worlds a choice. Remain with us in a new cooperative alliance, or choose independence. The reaction was immediate. Zularian officials began arguing among themselves. On the screens showing other worlds, crowds erupted in confusion and excitement. This will not be easy, the Emperor admitted. 3,000 years of tradition cannot change overnight. There will be resistance. There will be those who call me weak or traitorous. But I have seen another way through my interactions with Earth, and I cannot unsee it. The Emperor turned directly to Kate. General Moore, would you join me? Kate was surprised but rose and walked to stand beside the towering alien. Up close, she could see his scales rippling with nervous colors. This human showed courage when facing a power that could have destroyed her entire world, the Emperor told the watching billions. From her, I have learned that true courage comes in many forms. Sometimes it is standing firm against a greater power. Sometimes it is admitting that you have been wrong for 3,000 years. As he finished speaking, the screens showing feeds from Zularian ships suddenly changed. A different Zularian appeared, older, with dark purple scales. This is treason, against our ways, the new figure announced. Emperor Zexathalor has been corrupted by these humans. The High Council does not recognize these changes. The Empire will continue as it always has. The Emperor's scales flashed red with anger. High General Vexmore, you speak out of turn. I speak for tradition, the general replied. While you were playing diplomat with these primitives, the Council has voted. You are no longer fit to rule. Kate realized what was happening. It's a coup, she whispered to the Emperor. On the screens, chaos erupted. Some Zularian ships showed officers arguing. On conquered worlds, crowds began to demonstrate, some supporting the Emperor's new vision, others supporting the traditionalists. The Emperor turned to Earth's leaders. I apologize for this internal disagreement. It seems my empire is not as united as I believed. The President of the United States stood. Emperor Zexathalor, what does this mean for Earth? Before the Emperor could answer, his communication device chimed urgently. His scales paled as he read the message. 3 battle cruisers have broken from the fleet, he said grimly. They are coming here, to Earth. High General Vexmore has ordered them to make an example of your world. Panic spread through the assembly. The Secretary of Defense rushed to contact Earth's military forces. World leaders began evacuating the building. How long do we have? Kate asked. Hours at most, the Emperor replied. My loyal ships will try to stop them, but I fear civil war has begun. Kate's military training took over. We need to prepare Earth's defenses. Can your technology help us? The Emperor nodded. My flagship carries weapons that could be adapted to your systems, but it may not be enough against 3 battlecruisers. As they rushed to a secure command center, Kate's mind raced. Earth faced destruction because she had slapped an alien emperor and started a civil war in a galactic empire. The Pentagon War Room was a flurry of activity when they arrived. General Harris briefed Kate while technicians worked to integrate Zularian data with Earth's defense systems. Our missiles won't even scratch their ships, General Harris explained. Even with the Emperor's help, we're outgunned. The Emperor, who had to duck to fit through human doorways, studied Earth's defensive capabilities with concern. Your technology is too primitive to withstand a direct assault. Then we need another approach, Kate said. Not technology, but strategy. For the next hour, they developed a desperate plan. The Emperor would return to his flagship and attempt to rally loyal forces. Earth would appear defenseless, drawing the rebel ships into a trap. At a critical moment, the Emperor's forces would emerge from hiding behind Earth's moon, catching the rebels between 2 forces. It's risky, General Harris warned. If the Emperor's loyalists don't arrive in time, Earth is defenseless. I have given my word, the Emperor said solemnly. I will not abandon Earth after you have shown me a better way. As the Emperor prepared to return to his ship, he paused before Kate. If I do not return, remember this. One act of courage can change an empire. Kate watched the Emperor's shuttle rise into the sky, wondering if she would ever see him again. Then she turned back to the war room to prepare Earth for its first interstellar battle. Hours passed in tense preparation. Earth's military forces scrambled to ready the limited defenses they had. Civilians in major cities were moved to shelters. The world held its breath, waiting. Ethan Daniels, the young intelligence analyst, rushed into the war room with critical news. We're intercepting communications from across the Zularian Empire, he reported. Many worlds are declaring support for the Emperor's reforms. Others are siding with the traditionalists. The Empire is fracturing along these lines. What about the battle cruisers heading for Earth? Kate asked. Still coming, Ethan confirmed. But there's something else. The Krull and 2 other formerly conquered species have launched ships of their own. They're coming to help defend Earth. This was unexpected news. Worlds that had been under Zularian control for centuries were now rising up to defend the planet that had inspired them to resist. General Harris looked skeptical. Can these alien allies actually help us? Maybe not militarily, Kate said, but symbolically? Absolutely. The Empire is watching. If conquered worlds unite with Earth against the traditionalists, it changes everything. As the rebel Zularian ships entered Earth's solar system, tension in the command center reached its peak. Radar tracked the massive vessels as they passed Mars, moving steadily toward Earth. There was still no sign of the Emperor's loyalist forces. They'll be in firing range in 20 minutes, a technician reported. Kate stared at the display, watching humanity's potential doom approach. Had she made a terrible mistake trusting the Emperor? Had her single act of defiance doomed her planet, instead of saving it? Then, just as hope began to fade, new signals appeared on the radar. From behind the moon, as planned, emerged the Emperor's flagship. But it wasn't alone. Dozens of ships appeared, some Zularian, others of different designs from across the galaxy. The radio crackled, and the Emperor's voice filled the command center. General Moore, Earth will not stand alone today. The free worlds of the galaxy stand with you. On the screens they watched as the rebel cruisers found themselves suddenly outnumbered and surrounded. The Emperor's voice broadcast on all channels. Attention, rebel ships. You face not just my forces, but representatives from 20 worlds, including former subjects who choose to stand with Earth. Lower your weapons and return to Zularian space for judgment, or face destruction. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the rebel ships powered down their weapons. The first interstellar battle that Earth might have faced ended before it began. As cheers erupted in the command center, Kate felt the weight of responsibility lift from her shoulders. 6 months passed since the day Kate slapped the Emperor. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Ships from a dozen alien worlds now regularly visited. Humans were learning about technologies they had only dreamed of before. And, in return, Earth shared its culture, art, and unique human perspective with their new galactic neighbors. Kate had a new job now. No longer just a general in Earth's military, she was Earth's first ambassador to the newly formed Galactic Cooperative. Today she was preparing for the most important meeting in human history, the signing of the Galactic Charter, officially establishing a new form of government to replace the old Zularian Empire. Nervous? Asked Dr. Susan Miller, who had become Kate's chief advisor on alien cultures. A little, Kate admitted as she adjusted her formal diplomatic uniform. I never expected to be making history like this. Just be yourself, Susan advised, with a smile. That's what got us here in the first place. The ceremony was being held in a massive new structure, built specifically for interstellar meetings. The building seamlessly blended human architecture with alien designs. Its great dome could accommodate beings of all sizes, from the small, gravity-sensitive Neri to the massive Zularians. As Kate entered the main chamber, she saw hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy. Many were former subjects of the Zularian Empire, now equal partners in the cooperative. Some were species that had hidden from the Empire, now emerging to join a more peaceful galactic community. At the finais, center of the chamber, stood Emperor Zexathalor. Though he no longer used that title, now he called himself First Representative of Zular, signifying the change in his world's approach to galactic relations. Ambassador Moore, he greeted Kate, extending a hand in the human gesture he had learned. Today we complete what began, with your act of courage. Kate shook his scaled hand. I'm still amazed at how much has changed because of one impulsive moment. Not impulsive, the former emperor corrected. Principled. You acted from your core values, and in doing so, you showed us a better way. The ceremony began with representatives from each world taking their place around a large circular table. Earth's seat was no larger or smaller than any other, symbolizing the equality at the heart of the new cooperative. The charter itself was a remarkable document. Over the past 6 months, diplomats from all worlds had worked together to create a framework for peaceful coexistence. The Zularians had given up their empire but gained partners. Former subject worlds had gained freedom, but accepted responsibility for helping maintain galactic stability. As Kate prepared to sign for Earth, she reflected on how differently things might have gone. If she hadn't slapped the Emperor, Earth might now be just another conquered world. Or if the Emperor had reacted with anger instead of curiosity, humanity might have been wiped out entirely. For Earth, she said clearly, signing her name to the document that would forever link humanity's fate with the stars. One by one, representatives from each world added their signatures or equivalent marks. When the former Emperor signed last, changing the Zularian Empire forever, applause erupted throughout the chamber, but not everyone was celebrating. As the ceremony concluded, Kate noticed a group of Zularians standing apart from the others. Their scales were dark, their posture rigid with disapproval. The traditionalists, the former Emperor explained quietly, following her gaze. They believe I have betrayed 3,000 years of Zularian dominance. Are they dangerous? Kate asked. Very. They control several battle fleets that have refused to accept the changes. They see the cooperative as weakness, and me as a traitor to our species. Kate frowned. What will they do? For now, they watch and wait. But conflict seems inevitable. The former Emperor was right. 3 weeks after the signing ceremony, the first reports of trouble came in. A Zularian battle group had attacked a former subject world that had joined the cooperative. The message was clear. The traditionalists would not accept the new order, and emergency meeting of the Cooperative Council was called. Representatives gathered to decide how to respond to this first test of their new alliance. We must show strength, argued the representative from Krull, a world that had suffered under Zularian rule for centuries. If we do not defend our members, the cooperative means nothing. Others urged caution. We are not ready for war, said the representative from Earth's close neighbor Mars, which had recently been granted its own seat. Our defense forces are still being organized. The debate continued for hours. Kate listened carefully to all sides before speaking. The cooperative is not the Empire, she said when it was her turn. We don't rule through fear, but we must protect our members. I propose a middle path. We send a defense fleet to protect the attacked world, but we also open communication channels with the traditionalists. We show strength and willingness to talk. The council voted to adopt Kate's proposal. A combined fleet from several worlds would defend the cooperative's borders, while diplomats attempted to negotiate with the traditionalists. Kate was asked to lead the diplomatic team. Her reputation as the human who slapped an emperor and lived gave her unique standing among both cooperative worlds and traditionalist Zularians. I'm not sure I'm the right person for this, Kate told the former emperor as they prepared for the mission. The traditionalists hate me for changing their empire. They also respect you, he replied. You showed courage and strength. These are values even the most traditional Zularian understands. The diplomatic mission traveled to a neutral space station at the edge of former Zularian territory. The traditionalists agreed to meet there, under strict security protocols. Their leader was High General Vexmore, the same Zularian who had led the failed coup 6 months earlier. When Kate entered the meeting room, Vexmore's scales darkened with anger. The human who destroyed our empire, he said, his translator making no attempt to hide his disdain. The human who helped create something better, Kate corrected calmly. The cooperative offers Zularians honor and respect without the need for conquest. Zularians have always been conquerors, Vexmore growled. It is our nature, our right, our destiny. Is it? Kate asked. Or is it just habit? A pattern you've followed so long you've forgotten why you started? For hours they debated. Kate presented the benefits of cooperation over conquest. Vexmore defended 3,000 years of tradition. Neither seemed willing to bend. As the first day of talks ended with little progress, Kate received alarming news. Traditionalist ships were moving toward the cooperative fleet protecting the disputed world. Conflict seemed hours away. That night, unable to sleep, Kate walked the corridors of the space station. To her surprise, she encountered Vex Moore doing the same. "You should rest, human," the old general said. "Tomorrow's talks will be difficult." "As should you," Kate replied. "Yet here we both are, unable to sleep while our people move closer to war." Something in her words seemed to affect the Zularian. His scales shifted to a color Kate had never seen before, a deep gold laced with blue. "I have fought in 17 campaigns," Vexmore said after a long silence. "I have conquered 6 worlds personally. War is what I know." "And peace?" Kate asked. "What do you know of that?" "Nothing," the general admitted. "It is not our way." "It could be," Kate suggested. "Your former emperor found a new path." "You could, too." Vexmore's scales rippled. He was young, impressionable. "I am old, set in my ways." "No one is too old to learn," Kate said. "My grandmother learned to use new technology at 95. If she could adapt, so can you." The general made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You are persistent, human." "Kate," she corrected. "My name is Kate." The next morning, the talks resumed with a different tone. Vexmore seemed more willing to listen. Progress was slow but real. By day's end, a preliminary agreement was reached. The traditionalists would not join the cooperative, but they would respect its borders. In return, they would keep certain Zularian territories where they could maintain their traditional way of life. As the agreement was formalized, Vexmore approached Kate privately. "You have won, Kate of Earth," he said. "Not through force, but through something harder to fight." "What's that?" she asked. "The power of a better idea." The old general's scales shifted to blue. "I still believe in Zularian strength, but perhaps there is strength in change as well." 1 year after the slap that changed the galaxy, Kate stood on a balcony overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Beside her was the former emperor, visiting Earth for a cultural exchange program. "Your oceans still amaze me," he said, watching the sunset reflect on the water. "So much beauty on one small world." "There's beauty on all worlds, if you look for it," Kate replied. "Yes, I am learning that." The former emperor turned to face her. "Do you ever think about how differently things might have gone if you had not slapped me that day?" Kate smiled. "Sometimes. We might be enemies now instead of allies. I might still rule through fear instead of cooperation. The galaxy would be a very different place." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the sun sink below the horizon. Above them, the first stars became visible in the darkening sky. Kate knew that around some of those distant points of light orbited worlds now linked to Earth through the Galactic Cooperative. Worlds that once feared the Zularian Empire, but now built a future based on mutual respect.